Welcome to Theme Park Worldwide and a brand new review. In this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on Big Thunder Mountain, a beautifully themed Vekoma mine train that's located at Disneyland Paris in France. Now Big Thunder Mountain is a very popular ride at 4 of the different Disney parks around the world, and this version of the ride opened in 1992. It was an opening day attraction for Disneyland Paris. In fact, Big Thunder Mountain here was the only opening day version of that ride. The other 3 versions around the world didn't open with the park, whereas at Disneyland Paris it did do, and I must say they went in and did something very grand with this ride. In my opinion, it's the most impressive version of the ride, and I'm sure at some point I will share other reviews from the other versions of this ride. However, Big Thunder Mountain at Disneyland Paris is absolutely incredible. It's the overall theming and experience that really makes this, and also the location of the ride. It's clear that Disney knew of the success of it out there at Disneyland and Walt Disney World and at Tokyo Disneyland, and thought, you know what, when we build it for 1992 at Disneyland Paris, we want to go bigger and better than ever before, and they certainly did that with this absolutely fantastic ride. Now, as always with my reviews, I like to start off by talking about the location. Now, if you are familiar with the Disney parks, I'm sure you'll know already where this ride's located. Of course, it's in Frontierland, an absolutely gorgeous themed area of the park, all based around the Wild West. They've got some absolutely incredible theming. They've got saloons, they've got shows, they've got riverboats, and so much more. And what really makes Frontierland at Disneyland Paris is the fact that Big Thunder Mountain is that focal point. It's the centerpiece attraction. You walk straight into that area and it is there right in front of you, right in the middle of the rivers of the far west. Now, with this ride, it's very unique in terms of how it was designed, because the station is over on the mainland, and then all you see is this island out in the middle, which is actually Big Thunder Mountain and the ride itself. However, you think at first, how are we getting over to there? I can see trains going round. How am I getting over there? Of course, they actually built a tunnel underneath the river. All amazing engineering when they did it. And actually put this tunnel in first, and then of course built the river over the top of it, which makes it look absolutely brilliant from an off-ride perspective, and it just adds to the overall mystery of it. Now, with it being located at the heart of Frontierland, it is right there in the middle of the area. You make your way around to the entrance of the queue line. Of course, you've got a nicely themed entrance, and this is Disney. Everything's going to be nicely themed and very well looked after, and that's the beauty of this ride. No matter which version you go on around the world, they're all very heavily detailed, and they've all got differences too. However, it is the version in Paris that seems to offer the most in terms of the overall experience, even more so after it had a refurbishment a few years ago. Upon entering the queue line, you walk past lots of different scenery items that all fit around the mining theme for this, Big Thunder Mining Company. You make your way all around this queue line, you get some great views over towards the mountain itself, and also you see the very last part of the ride as soon as you enter the queue line, which is a lifter, what just comes out of a tunnel, and it comes out of that at, not too fast, but just at a reasonable pace. And you think, oh, okay, that's just come up from out of this tunnel. Not realizing that before that, you've got a huge drop, what takes you back underneath the river, and you just come out at that point. So it's nice to see it as soon as you enter the queue line. And I don't think people realize, especially a lot of families, how intense that final section of the ride is going to be. As you continue around the queue line, you gradually start to climb up into the wonderful building that is very well themed. There's all sorts of different pieces of mining equipment, machinery, great soundtrack playing in there, lots of different Wild West music. As much as it is a big cattle pen in there, much like quite a few of Disney's queues, it splits off into 2, so you have to choose to go left or right, and I always recommend going left. But yeah, with these queue lines, it is all undercover, and it can get a bit hot and sweaty in there on a hot summer's day, but it is nicely themed. And with this being Disney, the ride queue lines do move very quick, fantastic operations, but what makes it is the fact that it is undercover, and you get some really good views looking out at the sides, and there's some great music and some good bits of theming around as well. Now, when you get to that point where you're nearly a few minutes away from riding, you actually go downstairs in this building and make your way into the station area. With Big Thunder Mountain, it does offer a dual station. This is all down to that throughput, because this ride can run 5 trains if they want to, and I've seen it running that, and it's fantastic to see that ride running with them operations. It really is. But yes, you've got the dual station, so you make your way down. How that works is basically you've got a section of track at either end that can just turn to make sure that of course the train's going to go to the right side that they want to. In terms of the station, much like all the queue line and everything else about this ride and Disney as a whole, it is very well themed down there in the station. You actually feel like you're underground, in my opinion, even though you're not. It kind of feels that way. The fact you've gone down the steps and you know, it's all very blocked in down there in the bottom, but there's all sorts of different things around, and you've actually got a fantastic announcement that plays in there as well, the wildest ride in the wilderness, that just adds to the experience of it. The cast members on there are all wearing the uniforms as well. That's something that really adds to the Disney experience on their attractions, in my opinion. The fact they all wear a themed outfit, they're all dressed like cowboys, and that really makes it for me, with the cowboy hats on and the long coats. In terms of the train design, these are beautifully themed. Like I say, it is just a Vekoma mine train, but it's so well themed, it really is. And what a bit of a difference with the storyline to this ride compared to the other 3 versions of Big Thunder Mountain around the world. The actual trains have got a bit of a rustic feel to them compared to the other versions of the ride. They're all painted with a bit of rust and to look a bit older to fit with the theming of this that they went for, which is quite interesting. On the other versions of the ride, the trains do look similar, however they're look a lot newer, whereas with this they actually wanted to make them old, which I do really like, and it fits more with the mining theme. In terms of the capacity on this, like I say, it can run 5 trains, 30 riders can be seated on one train of Big Thunder Mountain, and of course it's 2 guests per row. In terms of the seating arrangement, it is designed for 2 guests. However, I've seen it before, if people have got really young kids, as long as they're tall enough, they can actually have 3 per row. So that is something what can vary. Officially, it is 30 riders, but it can be more depending on how many they do fit into a row. Like I say, I have seen 3 because of how the seating is designed, and it's a single lap bar that goes across, not an individual for each rider. But yeah, with the trains, they are really nicely designed, beautifully themed, and just fit with that old rickety feel that they really wanted to try and create here in Frontierland. At that point, you're ready to go, and that cheesy announcement plays that we all love. Hold on tight, folks. It's the wildest ride in the wilderness. That was a bad accent, wasn't it? But then you go, you're dispatched out of the station, depending on which side you come out of. Of course, if you're on the left, you know, you come round to the right when you exit the station. If you're on the right-hand side, you come round to the left a little bit. It all depends on which side you're on. And with this ride, it doesn't actually go straight out and into a lift hill. Oh no, the experience starts by actually entering into this tunnel, which is going to take you underneath the rivers of the far west. And it starts off pretty intense actually, and builds up some speed there. And it actually does a right turn in this tunnel before engaging onto the lift hill and starting to climb the first lift hill on this ride. Now, as soon as you start climbing that, you hear the noise of this, and that's what really makes it, the noise of the lift hill. I'm sure there's lots of people who've ridden it that can relate to that. The noise of it is fantastic as it's going up there, of course, with the anti-rollbacks creating a fantastic noise. Looking off to the right when you're going up the lift hill, you see like these pools of water with all colours in there and all the rocks. It's a beautiful area actually as you're climbing up. It's not a dark tunnel at this point. You're getting closer to the end of it and you can see a lot more, and there's some great lighting in there too. There's also bat sound effects, all building up that atmosphere. Now, if you ride this during the warmer months in the summer, there is actually a water effect at the top of the lift hill that comes down each side of the train. It doesn't get you absolutely soaked, but it, you know, it gives you a bit of a mist, and if you put your hand out a little bit, you know, you will get dripped on. But that's a good effect that happens at the top. But like I say, that isn't on during the winter months. It would be a bit chilly, wouldn't it, in France for that. Once you make it to the top, you then start to bank round to the left and head down the first drop after that first lift hill, and it's not too steep, it's nothing too intense, and this is when you really get to appreciate the beautiful theming around this. The amount of money that Disney spent on the rock work and theming elements around this is very impressive. There's cacti around the ride, there's lots of other things to look at, but yeah, you really appreciate it at this point as you make your way down on that section. Now you get some brilliant interaction as well with rocks and theming items, and also other trains. Bear in mind there can be up to maybe 3 or 4 trains at one time running around the mountain itself. You know, normally I'd say about 3 trains running around and a couple down, of course, in the station and brakes area, but absolutely amazing when that thing's running 5 trains, just seeing how they get them out there, and it's beautifully designed. I love Disney for their throughputs, they are amazing, and you get some brilliant moments there with interactions before you sort of head round to the left. You get a great view across the rivers and over towards Phantom Manor, a beautiful dark ride in the area, and then you actually drop down and you get some great airtime at this point. point, even though it's actually trimmed at that point. There is a trim brake. You do drop down and get some fantastic airtime, especially on the back when you whipped out your seats going down that. Bear in mind, you've just got a little lap bar. And into a bit of a splashdown element. Now, it isn't actually caused by the train. The splash is just off to the side, but it's like a broken trestle bridge that you're going over, and it creates this splash off to the side, which is a great effect. From off-ride, it looks more impressive than on-ride. You don't really get wet from that, but it's just a nice little feature and what Disney added into this. Following on from that point, you then make your way round to the left and start climbing up the second lift hill on the ride. Now, I really like all the theming around here because you've got smoke coming out, you've got lots of mining machinery, you've got donkeys, you've got a goat there that's like pulling on some clothes. Love the goat. There's just so much going on around that point. And off to the right, as you're climbing that lift hill, you get an absolutely incredible view of the mountain itself, just looking at it and all the details on there. Especially at night, they light it up with like these orange and red lights, which really adds to the overall atmosphere created around Big Thunder Mountain. But yeah, there's so much to look all the way around that point. Following on from that, you then drop round to the left before various different moments of banking. There is also another trim brake that comes up here, but you don't feel it too much, before entering what is actually my favourite element of the ride itself. Now, I'm sure a lot of people would say the favourite element is probably the return back to the mainland at the end, but for me, it's actually the 540-degree helix that just seems to go on, and the fact that you're going through the caverns and rocks really makes that section of the ride for me. So yeah, you go through a 540-degree helix, which is brilliant. You then head into a fantastic airtime hill. You look in front of you and you see the rocks there and you think, blimey, we're going to hit those. But before you've got time to think anymore, you drop straight underneath them and you get some brilliant airtime once again on the back. But no matter where you're sat, if you want a more intense ride, you definitely want to be heading towards the back of the ride. The cast member's normally brilliant for that, by the way. You can normally just say, yeah, can we ride at the back, and they'll let you wait. Obviously, with everything at the moment with COVID, you know, that can be different, but normally in normal circumstances they'll let you wait for the rows. Likewise, if you want to wait for the front, Disney's always about that customer service, and let's face it, you pay for it, so you want to have that customer service, definitely. Following on from this, you dive out of that tunnel and round to the right hand side over another bit of a trestle bridge, but this one isn't broken because you come round to the right and into this mine itself. And at this point you start to climb up yet another lift hill, but there's lots going on in here. You've got projection mapping, you've got smoke effects, you've got this dynamite that just starts to go off. It's like a blast of dynamite in there, which is pretty incredible. Now, that wasn't an original 1992 feature from Big Thunder Mountain. This was added a few years ago during the refurbishment, but it's brilliant. And there's actually a bit of a wonk on the lift hill as well, so you just kind of feel the train go to the side, which really adds to it as well. Only on a Vekoma, love that. But yeah, you head up there and that's brilliant, and there's so much going on. The blast itself actually goes off. There's a little mine cart above you, and then you expect to go into a pretty big drop there, but you don't. As if you're at the front of the train, you only come out of that pretty slowly into a pretty small drop, but you get a gorgeous view in front of you of the castle at Disneyland Paris before heading round to the left. And again, it's starting to build up quite a bit of speed here as you're just heading quite high up, but alongside the river. You get great views as well when you've got the river boats running around. The Molly Brown, when she's running around, you get some great interaction with that. And then you head through this wooden little hut, and then you really do start to pick up the pace now. You can have a little look at some bats that are all hanging up from the ceiling. It continues to bank to the left before heading down pretty fast to the fastest point of the ride, which is about 40 miles an hour, and that's back underneath the rivers. So it heads through a tunnel all the way back, and during that tunnel it banks to the left, and then you're up into a final little lift hill that it just has just to make sure that it gets back up to the top. But that point of the ride is very exhilarating. You just feel the wind rushing against you. It feels like you're going a lot faster than 40 miles an hour because you're in complete darkness. All you can see before you turn the bend is these bats that are hanging above you. But that's a brilliant part of the ride, and no other version of Big Thunder Mountain in the world has that because, of course, none of the others are designed like that to actually be in the middle of the water, which is brilliant. So you come out onto that lift hill, and that's the part what I spoke about earlier from the queue that you can see. And you see the trains just come out of there and think, that's interesting, because it's not really going that fast. However, really, you've just gone through the fastest part of the ride. brilliant section. And of course, following on from that, it just slowly makes its way round to the left and back to the station, where it'll go either to the left or right, depending on whichever one hasn't got a train in already. Like I say, it's got a dual station in operation. Big Thunder Mountain is an absolutely incredible ride. It's a Disney classic, and like I say, I'm lucky enough to have visited all the Disney parks in the world, so I've done all 4 versions of this ride, and Disneyland Paris is by far my favourite. However, there's some beautiful versions of this out there. They're all brilliant rides. The original at Disneyland in California, that's got so much on it. The queue line for that's very different too, with some lovely buildings along there. All of them have got a lot of great differences. Magic Kingdom, that's probably my weakest of them all. It needs a bit of an upgrade. However, I believe it is closed for refurbishment at the moment. So as of 2021, so that should be happening, and we should be seeing some upgrades to that, hopefully. That's not got the projection map in and that sort of explosive finale effect with the dynamite. And along with that, the version at Tokyo Disneyland is great. That area is stunning. It kind of looks a bit like the version at Disneyland Paris, however, it's not in the middle of the water. But yeah, they're all brilliant versions of the ride. It's just the version in Paris for me is the more superior because of its location, the overall length of it, and the fact that, you know, you're going on this expedition, it feels like, under the water and over onto this island. But let me know, maybe you've done them all too. Let me know your thoughts. Which ones have you experienced? Which ones would you like to do? Let me know down below in the video comments. And as always, thanks for joining me for another review here on Theme Park Worldwide. Check out our reviews playlist. There's loads of different videos in there now from all sorts of different coasters around the world. And along with that, we upload brand new videos every single day here on our channel, so make sure you stay tuned for new videos every day for you to enjoy. Thanks for joining me, Sean Sandbrook, here on Theme Park Worldwide, and that leaves me with one final thing to say. Get out there and keep on riding. See you all soon.